right, Al, how's it going?
Going good, Jay. Thanks for the morning update. Gotta love it.
What are you seeing in the charts today?
Oh man, there's a lot to be had in the charts. It's a pretty exciting day. It's an exciting week. I mean, I think we've all been kind of lulled to sleep over the last week or two of this boring sideways downward trajectory. So any move's a good move in my books, but let's figure out why and where to anticipate our next stop. So over here, we just have what we continue to bring up on most of our streams is our total market cap. And like we've said many times before, this is a representation of all of the money and volume going into crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, ADA, and so on. So we like to really pay attention to this because this to me tells us how much money is going into the markets. And as you can see, a lot of money's gone in really quickly. So right here on July 20th to July 26th. So in a 6-day period, we did a 33 to 35% jump. And that is impressive. It actually looks like the counter to what we experienced on the drop in June. So this is pretty expected, but you have to assume that this could also be a liquidity build. And so I would be looking for the total market cap to kind of at least come back down to the 1.4, 1.39 trillion range to retest its support before we see any astronomical numbers. I do believe that it might fall through here and continue to work its way back down to some of our stronger support levels around the 1.25 to 1.22 trillion dollar level before we really have a turnaround in this market. But let's jump over to everyone's favorite, the golden child. Here is Bitcoin. And this is a chart that we've showed a few times in past streams, and we've left it unedited for this exact reason because it's fun to see what you predict and it's fun to see where you go. So here we can see we started predicting on this chart, projecting around the first week of July. And we projected a downward movement and then a breakout to about 42 to 43K. And this was projected based off of our fib lines and our fib sequences, as well as past movement. And the exciting part about that is, let's zoom in here and give you guys a nice clear visual. Is you can see we anticipated a break out of the channel right here, but instead we broke out of the channel right here. So let's take a look at what that is. That is from there to there is about 5 to 5.5 days. So we were about 5 days off from the breakout, but in our projection, we anticipated that it would go about, it would hit about 40. So our projection to go to 42K or 40K in 6 days. And so we were anticipating this kind of aggressive movement or big pump. Well, let's see what we did. We went from here to, so we did it in about 5 days. So almost I guess to summarize it and to say it in the most simplified term, this move was anticipated. And this is something that was expected. And I believe that this is more of a liquidity build than a reversal. But there's plenty of indicators coming around that will help us decide and will make it more clear coming up. I do anticipate we'll continue to move up to about 40 to 42 to finish this week off. But I've went ahead and given us some nice clear indicators right here of when I think the price will have to come and retest levels. And I think we'll retest any levels from 33% to 50% to as catastrophic as 62%. And so anywhere from 22 to 28 to where we're at now is what I would anticipate Bitcoin to sit at before we do break out. But we're definitely watching a day-to-day charts, and this breakout was exciting because it is showing that we are waking up and things are starting to get going.
So Alex, real quick, those percentages are your fib retracements, correct?
Yeah, and so and they're fib retracements from the most recent local high.
Okay.
So they're not fib retracements from the assets overall. It's more of an immediate retracement, and they're actually, I believe, all pulled from the local high in May.
Okay, awesome. That was going to be my next question. What was that local high you're talking about?
Yeah. So since the drop began is what we've been looking at, like where. So from the local high up here at about 60K, this was our 33%, our 50%, and our 62%.
Okay, no wonder there were so many orders hit down on that 50% retracement. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, you can see it hit multiple times. It hit here in May. It tried to hit here 2 weeks later. It hit here first week of June. It hit here 3 weeks later. It hit again 4 days later. It just hit 2 weeks ago or a month ago. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely a spot that you can see we've had to test that area quite a bit. But that brings us into what time of the year we at and what did we do last time. So I like to do what I call a retro peek at where we're at and where we're heading. And so right here, you can see all of these orange or yellow bars. They are lined up at the month end, month beginning. So the space between them represents a month. And right here is pretty much where we are in comparison to the next month. So I wanted to look at 2018 first. And you would notice that if we're here at 2018, they had a very similar pump, about 40% in 3 days in 2018. And that followed suit with a 30% retracement in the following week into August. And so that is something that I think we need to pay attention to, need to be aware of. That in the past, we had similar pumps that actually were indicative of a bearish short-term cycle ahead, or at least a bearish month. But there's also plenty of examples of when August has been a much better month. And so you can see in 2019, here was the start of August. We went up another 40%. Granted, in the month of July in 2019, it was a little bit, we didn't do any pumps. We went downward motion. So I don't know if that's a fair example, but then we can go back to 2020 and you can see right here in July, we had the same pump right at the end. And you can see in this pump, we pumped up 35% and then went sideways for the entire month of August. So I could see that happening as well. I could see this pump not being retraced and us just moving sideways, or following suit that we did in 2018 and a possible 30%, 35% retracement from where we're at would put us somewhere around the 27 range. And so that's really what I see as the possible outcome for the next week or two, because it is the end of the week's coming. The end of the month is going to follow suit with the end of the week. We'll have a lot of contracts closing, a lot of open, and it's really the on-chain analytics, as Jake was pointing out earlier, are not quite showing that it's a turnaround yet. You can see the volume has been down, the number of transactions are down, as well as the number of new addresses is really what has been the most surprising to me. The number of new addresses and the number of active addresses are continuing to head in a downward motion. And I would like to see those turn around to show that people are getting excited, they have faith back in crypto, before I expect a rally or any time to be testing all-time highs. So that being said, went ahead and channeled out what we believe is our liquidity zones. So you can see right here, I'll zoom in a little bit better for you guys. Get rid of this. This channel right here is the liquidity zone, and this channel right here is the liquidity zone. And when I say liquidity zone, it's when the market makers are building enough liquidity for a move to be made. And that's normally when a drastic move to the upside or to the downside gets moved once they spend enough time in a liquidity zone. So right here, you can see they filled the liquidity. They were setting their longs, finding their positions, and then pumped it up. I do anticipate that we will spend at least a day or two hanging out in this liquidity zone, setting some short positions before making any moves back down. So as we know, I draw like a sixth grader, so we'll get those off the screen. But anyways, a lot of excitement. Bitcoin's moving. We like movement. And as a trader, there's plenty of places to find good trades. There's been shorts and longs of equal deliciousness. And so that's kind of fun to find, fun to pay attention to. We have been noticing that a lot of things do look peaked out. But speaking of things that are peaking, gaming tokens have peaked like nobody's business, and I believe that our man Sifu is going to go into detail on that for you guys, but I was just fascinated by the charts on them. And I was looking at Axie Infinity, which has been a terror in the space. We had covered it in July 20th when we were playing around $13-14, and you can see since then it has almost 4x, at least a 3x since then. And so looking at Axie Infinity, Audio, and Enjin, you can see there's a lot of strength in these projects and these gaming tokens that they're almost getting to a point that they're ready to stand alone. They're ready to walk to dance to their own beat, because they're tired of crypto's volatility and the aggression that it goes up and down. And these gamers aren't going to have it. We've seen it with GameStop. We've seen them in the stocks. They will stand behind projects that they believe in. And this is absolutely incredible to watch these projects hold so strongly as an entire market bleeds. And, so if I was looking into new projects, I would have a heavy eye on gaming. And if I was looking to get into gaming, these would be the 3 top projects I would be entertaining. That being said, since these are the 3 top projects that we are entertaining, we are looking for positions. And there's nothing more satisfying than hitting that 65% retracement, because that is one of the safest. It's almost a guarantee to come back into profit. It gets hit the most. And so for me, on all of these projects, I would be looking at least at the 65% retracement, especially after pumps of this magnitude. I mean, Axie Infinity pumped up 280% in 7 days. And Audio pumped up 70% in 6 days. And Enjin pumped up 60% in 6 days. I mean, these are unfathomable gains in a week. And so I do expect there'll be some sort of consolidation, but these are all extremely strong projects. And I think that this is the beginning of an entire era that it would be intelligent to get into these projects before they're commonplace everywhere. That being said, that's all I got for the fun. I'm going to slide this over. And if you did enjoy, please be sure to like and subscribe below. And also stay tuned for future daily updates, weekly podcast. As always, remember, nothing but love. Stay C3. Cool.